So Pep Talks, no idea zone audience, the 26 of you that are out there, we started with about 7. We're up to about 26 to 28. We appreciate you loyal fan base. This is my most special guest that I've had, and honestly, I got to be honest with you, it's a great way to end the season because this is going to be the last episode of the season. We're going to take a break, so this is a perfect way to end it. He's been described, for those of you who aren't familiar with him, he's been described by the Federal Emergency Management Agency as the top most likely hazardous comedian to the military-industrial complex and other institutions. He was described by the Center for Disease Control as his album, It's Not Comedy, It's Containment, came out, and he was described as a clear and present danger. No, seriously, probably one of the funniest people living, and an honor to be a writer for him and to have him here. And my good buddy, Eddie Pepitone. Thanks for joining.
Man, that was a great introduction. And I'm just so disappointed that only 26 people watched, but still, I want to say hello to you, 26. And thank you, Stephen. How are you?
Does it give you comfort? Isn't it kind of comforting to know not that many people are listening? Is that sort of a no?
Whenever I have done shows, like live shows, and it's a small audience, I feel just as kind of responsible to them as I do a large audience.
Right.
And so I try to do a show that's, well, I don't know how to do a half-ass show, really. You know what I mean? Like, I have done them, believe me, but I always feel like, okay, I'm the front.
He lays here on the couch.
What?
As you eat your pistachios.
No, frozen grapes.
Oh, frozen grapes. Sorry. This is not this is Eddie Pepitone in second or third gear right now, people. Just so you know.
I'm just tired, you know. We were talking about.
I've been tired for days, brother. I've been tired for days.
The air, I'm sure we don't know. We don't know if it's the air. It probably is the air. It's been bad.
Has your head been heavy? I have a heavy head.
I have a heavy heart.
But that was before this.
Yeah. No. For me, and this is why I'm very afraid of COVID. For me, when I get a cold or a flu, it goes right to my goddamn lungs, and I think that's because I used to sand floors, and I took in a lot of what do you call it?
A lot of sawdust.
Yeah, and I started getting bronchitis, and so I'm very frightened of all this crap, that's going on right now.
Yeah, you're particularly a high-risk candidate for this thing.
Oh, great. Thank you.
I mean, my parents are too. They're stuck in Florida. They're in fucking Florida. At least you're not in Florida, dude.
Oh, I'd rather be in Florida at this point, no?
No, you wouldn't, because nobody there thinks this thing is real. They're all
really?
No, because they're all on the QAnon train. They all think this thing is something made up to bring down President Mussolini.
Wow.
They're not taking it seriously. My poor mom, she's got the most of it emotionally because she's a real social person and she can't really go out. She can't really see anybody. And when she does go to the store, she goes in the morning at 7 a.m. when they open, so she can do her show. Yeah. And they open it for seniors early. They do. That's kind of cool. So, but she sees people and people don't social distance. She says it took them months to start wearing masks. Nobody was wearing masks down there.
Yeah, and they have an asshole governor, don't they?
Right, who listens to Mussolini, our president. So
Yeah, we're so fucked. Let me just talk to the 26 people who are watching. We are so fucked right now. When I hear that people aren't taking this seriously, um, I was just watching a YouTube video that was Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who apparently is an anti-vaxxer. Have you followed him at all?
I know he's against the vaccines. He talks about, I know a little bit about him in that he talks about the additional shit that's put into vaccines that are toxic to us, that we shouldn't trust them. I do know a little bit about it, yeah, but go ahead.
Mm. Well, I I was watching him, and I don't want to be one of these people who immediately believes, somebody who is kind of an authority, or seems to be an authority. And he was saying things. And here's the thing about all these conspiracy theories that are confusing for, I think, people who don't have a context and don't have, dare I say, an education. Because they have elements of truth in it, these conspiracy theories. They're anti-government, and I'm all for that.
Right. Right.
They're anti-government. They talk about, you're being controlled, and I believe that's true. With Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he's talking about how Big Pharma is powerful. And that's true, but am I going to then be an anti-vaxxer? No. Do you know what I mean? How do you?
Right, but are you going to
How do
run
you?
out? Are you going to run out and get a vaccine for the coronavirus when they come out?
Not when Trump. Not if they're. These are great. These. I just want to take a moment.
Yeah.
To address the Lolli 26. These.
What kind of grapes, Eddie? Come on, give us a little plug.
They're organic green grapes, and I freeze them. So each one is like a little popsicle. But am I going to believe the anti-vaxxers? No. To me, he was talking about the CDC being a branch of the military, and that they're essentially a part of the control. He was talking about Hermann Goering. This is me trying to wake up. I'm listening to quotes from Hermann Goering in the morning. Most people, the Nazi Hermann Goering.
Yeah, what about Goering? Now, see, you're sucking me into this thing.
He was talking that Goering said the way you control the people is to make them afraid.
Right.
You instill fear in them. And Kennedy Jr. was saying that's what is being done with the coronavirus. And I'm like, And you know what I mean? What do you think? I mean, what do you think of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and all this stuff?
I like him in that respect. I don't trust vaccines. I'm not. My sister and my nephew got really sick from the flu shot. And I don't try. I'm not a person who would. I'm a person who would run. What the fuck? I'm a person who would immediately yeah. Good grapes. Good grapes.
Go ahead. Go. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Enjoy your grapes. I would caution my loved ones to not get a vaccine for the coronavirus. I would say wait a year, wait a couple years. Don't, see what happens. I wouldn't go out and get it. I'm not going to lie to you. I think the conspiracy theory, I want to comment on these conspiracy theories though. It is a reflection of the fact that our establishment and the people that we look up to for advice and leadership have completely failed us.
Yes, I agree.
That's what
I agree.
So
I agree. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say is that
on both sides.
Both sides, you mean Dems and Republicans?
Yeah, all political spectrums.
Well, yeah.
Authority figures, being raised that you should trust and have reverence for authority. It's breaking down in the most violent way. And the conspiracy theory is a person's way of, you know, sort of hiding from the catastrophe of that. And I think Chris Hedges, your buddy Chris Hedges, talks about that. I am completely in lockstep with him.
You know what he calls them is these conspiracy theorists crisis cults. They're crisis cults. We're in the middle of a tremendous economic breakdown, an ecological breakdown, societal breakdown, governmental breakdown. And so then, you know, you believe that, you know, the elites are eating children in a pizzeria. I mean, that's the extreme of the conspiracy nonsense.
Or here's another one, that John F. Kennedy Jr. is still alive and living in Pennsylvania under an assumed identity. I'm not kidding. This is, I wish I was kidding. This is good stuff though. He's going to pop out and run with Donald Trump as his vice president in this election. That is another one.
I don't even know how that makes any sense. You see, also, people want to, the crisis cults, terrific. The crisis cults believe in magic because reality has been so unkind. That's another way to describe why people are going into these cults or conspiracy theories. You know, the QAnon assholes.
The QAnon, just for a second to get into the right-wing conspiracy, because I didn't really know there were right-wing conspiracy theorists until Trump became president. I never heard a right-winger use the term deep state. That was always reserved for people with our political bent. So it's interesting that these right-wing conspiracy people seem to be not having to give up their core beliefs that it's socialists and communists and, you know what I'm saying? They don't have to give up their core belief. They don't have to admit they were wrong about that. Right? And every conspiracy theory sort of is like a crutch for us to whatever we, you know, buy into, for us to not have to give up our core belief that we might not have been right. You know, we might not have been right about something.
You know, that's interesting, like how these people, you know, the right-wing conspiracists, how they can, you know, be anti-government, talk about the deep state, yet blame people like us on the left for this shit. Like, what, you know, what, how are they missing the fact that it is, you know, the concentration of wealth via corporations, you know, corporations now, you know, Hedges, again, I always quote Chris Hedges, he talks about a corporate coup d'etat. They have taken over the government. So if you're going to be deep state, you're against corporate wealth. But these people, I think they hold on to the American dream. That's what I think is underneath it. They still hold on to the fact that they become rich, they can become rich, they can become wealthy, when all the evidence that is staring them in the face says, no, you can't, because you have been turned into a fucking slave, a literal peasant by the corporate state. And they miss that, and they blame, you know, this whole thing about Antifa is so fucking nuts. Antifa is like a few, you know, it's like just, it isn't a big organized thing. It's like, you know, a bunch of people trying to fight, you know, these fucking lunatic fascists. They're not that organized at all. And, you know, they get blamed. I mean, when I heard that Antifa was being blamed
for the
Oregon fires. You know,
Joe Rogan went on. Your buddy Rogan went on and said that.
Don't call him my. I mean, I like, you know, Joe is a sweet guy, but if he is saying that, he's
way off, dude.
He is pandering to these fucking assholes. You know what I mean?
Maybe he's just a little out of touch, you know? I mean, you know, it happens to, I think people with money are out of touch. I have always, you know, and Joe Rogan is definitely a guy who I like him a
Mhm.
lot. I really like him a lot. I like a lot of things about him. But
Mhm.
I can't, that's not cool. That's
But
really
but
bad,
but hold it. Here's what I wanted to say about the people who were saying that Antifa has been starting started the Oregon fires, right? Those are the treasonous motherfuckers. You know how these right wing pricks are always talking about, they're the patriots, they're the Proud Boys or whatever the fuck they call themselves.
Right.
We're the real patriots. They are the treasonous motherfuckers. They're the treasonous people against this country because they are sowing so much misinformation. And, instead of realizing we have an incredible environmental crisis, right, that needs to be addressed, and we need to, get off of fossil fuels. We need to change the agricultural industry into a more plant-based thing. You know what I mean? And they'll call vegans like me soy boys and all this shit. They're the treasonous ones because they are actually destroying this country. So I love when they take this, like, I forget who said this. It's a quote, but somebody said, when fascism comes to the United States,
George
it
Carlin.
will be, well, I don't know who said this, but when fascism comes to the United States, it'll be wrapped in the flag and carrying the cross. And that's what these fucking people do. They wrap themselves in the flag, which, the famous quote, again, I forget who said it, the last refuge of the scoundrel is patriotism. Oh, I'm a patriot. These people are the opposite. It's like the opposite truth. They are not patriots at all. They're the people who, you know, are treasonous. They're just, spreading misinformation, and they're kind of cultivating a fucking civil war at this point, because they, instead of peacefully demonstrating, you know, en masse against the corporate state, it's all this bullshit about it's the left. They believe the lies that, Trump and Barr and all these intellectual midgets
Yeah.
propagate.
Yeah. I think I'll also say this because I have the centrists and the right wingers come on my social media. Um, and
Oh,
when you
really?
present them with evidence, if you present them with evidence that contradicts, there's never a, well, maybe I'm wrong about this. I like to think that I have some ability to see when someone's challenging the way I believe or something I think, that I can look at it critically and, and say, well, maybe, okay, maybe that person has a point. But, if you present the evidence of, to a centrist, for instance, to one of these blue team Republicans who think
Mhm.
Biden's gonna, I wanted to share this with you. I have three friends. One guy I think is
You have
just,
three friends? That's pretty
I have
good.
three
I
friends.
have I have two.
Oh, wow. Well,
That's
one guy's
five. That's five between us.
three centrist friends who,
Oh, okay.
come and chime in on my, one guy I just think isn't very bright. He's not very bright. He thinks Rachel Maddow is a real symbol of uh, fighting the power structure.
Mm.
Then I've got another one who I think is just wealthy. He married into money. He's comfortable and he's never been broke. So we think
Mhm.
Biden's okay. And then there's one other guy who is
Mhm.
a revolutionary guy. He's my buddy from Northern California. But I got to tell you, I think he's terrified. I think he's a chicken shit. So I see these characteristics, these qualities of my friends,
Mhm.
who
Mhm.
can't grab the center and pull to the left. Those people are, like we say, part of the problem, a major part of the problem. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Well, and For me, I had the fortunate. See, I was fortunate to uh, be steered toward critical thinking of authority and the government and corporate power at an early age, and so I always looked to that, and right now we live in such an insane time of idiocracy, because social media, everybody is giving a press conference no matter how fucking stupid they are, you know what I mean? And they all have a Facebook page, they all um you know spout all this crap. There is so much stuff that's passed around that is insane. And by the way, the one thing I differ with you is that I would definitely get a vaccine once it's proven safe, not one that is being, for corona, not one that's being rushed out before the election. I don't think I would touch that one. But once I think they're talking about mid mid next year. Yeah, I would definitely get a vaccine. I always get the flu vaccine every year, for
Okay.
sure.
And you've been fine with it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean that is science, you know.
I'd let some other people do it for a while, but then again, I'm not a high risk person. My body can fight it off, and I can create antibodies. So
Me too, pal.
hey, I wanna bring something up before I forget, because we had an interesting conversation the other day, and you said something kind of beautiful and poetic to me, which
I
was
did.
that we're not in control of any of these things that are happening right now, and we're really not. I mean, even though we can
Yeah.
argue, and there's something going on that's bigger than us, and
Mm,
I want you to elaborate on that a little bit for people, because I think you could put it
mm,
better than I did.
mm. Yeah. Well, um, when I think of that, I particularly think about the environmental catastrophe that's playing out. I mean, that's so much bigger than any of us. Like, if you want to get a sense of what's bigger than you, you just think of the scope of all the acreage that has burned on the West Coast. So these massive, massive fires that are going on, or the way that hurricanes have gotten, you know, bigger, they've gotten wetter, they hang over areas longer, they flood places, and that's so much bigger than us. Like, we think we can control this stuff. We can't. What we can do is organize, and together, form a network of people like this group called Extinction Rebellion. People should look that group up. It's called Extinction Rebellion, and it's a network. People try to organize. They've shut down London before. They have these. They realize that if we don't change the way we live, then we are not going to have a civilization, period. Um, so the environmental catastrophe is bigger than ourselves. And even, what's going on in the United States, this incredible, perfect storm of, the elites owning everything, the transfer of wealth, the economic collapse, the pandemic. It's it's
It
it's
doesn't feel like it does feel like, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, I was just going to say that, you know uh it's so big. It's so, and what can we do? I think it's just, you know it's little actions, you know, like when people talk about, you know, little acts of kindness, or, you know, when people help each other is awesome. Like there's this woman who I've had on my podcast a couple of times named Andrea Moore. And right now what she's doing is like helping stock a food kitchen that is like the right on the street for people. I think it's in Eagle Rock or Highland Park, something like that in LA, where people can come and get water and get different food items. And she does this every day. And I think it's acts like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Twice, I didn't actually go down, but people blocked the courthouse downtown in Los Angeles. People showed up at 6 a.m, hundreds of people, maybe thousands, and they blocked the city courthouse so that the moratorium on evictions the law could not be changed, because there was a hearing that was taking place. And in LA, people blocked the courthouse, and then they scheduled a second hearing.
Right.
And people did it again. They got up and they blocked the courthouse. And I guess Newsom kind of figured it out on his own, but I don't want to get on the negative about it. I want to stay on the positive that people did that. I was sent a text through these organizations that said, let everyone know, come down and block courthouse. I think I sent it out to maybe 200 people through my phone via text. Rick Overton reposted it. I might have sent it to you, but I mean, that's the kind of civil disobedience we're going to have, because we're talking about 500,000 people we're going to be displaced from their homes. What do you think that's going to look like in Los Angeles County?
Los Angeles is already a sea of homelessness. That it's dangerous for everybody. It's unhealthy. It's depressing. It's despairing. It's you know, it's a failed state. It's a failed state.
Add 500,000 people onto that overnight.
Well, that's terrifying.
Right. And nobody's standing up for us. We have to. When people are going to have to do it a little bit at a time like that.
When are these evictions supposed to?
It was supposed to be a couple weeks ago, and then Newsom extended this. You can look it up if anyone can look it up. I don't have the exact dates on me, but Newsom extended it. I don't know if he extended it indefinitely or if he extended it for 6 months or 9 months or what he did, but. But he was facing incredible civil disobedience, incredible uprising in the state of California. And I want to be positive about it, but I do want to point out one thing.
What?
These are Democrats in power in California, not Republicans. For those of you who think Joe Biden is going to, suddenly you're going to have a fucking party in Joe Biden, these Joe Biden, Kamala Harris people, as I affectionately refer to them, the solar panel on top of the gas station, right, is going to suddenly
that's great,
make everything better, and we're going to go back to good old days. Republicans aren't the ones doing this shit. So, it's really terrifying, dude. It's really terrifying.
Boy, that is, that's why people, by the way, go into these quote unquote crisis cults, is that and not even cults, they fucking throw themselves into video games, they throw themselves into I don't know, TV, movies, whatever it is,
YouTube groups, I don't know.
YouTube groups, TikTok, what, but because it is terrifying, and I get a little overwhelmed by it. I get,
what do you do to escape? What's your escape? Tell us about your.
I have a couple. Right now I'm very into the Yankees.
They're playing good again.
They're hitting an historic amount of home runs. So like I get into that, like that's important.
Okay.
And this is great. Like I lighten up. Books are big for me. Like I love reading books, and I love that. And then, what people do, like, some movies that you were talking about 70s movies
Oh man, yeah,
recently.
yeah.
Culture, real culture, like, but it's hard though, because I get addicted to this bad news. I mean, that's a real thing, by the way, getting addicted to bad news. Like, I noticed this in myself, that I like I go on the internet, and I'm like looking for civil unrest. I'm looking for hurricanes. I'm looking for devastating fires.
Yeah, it's not a good
Well,
proclivity.
right,
It's not a good
right.
thing to be drawn to.
But that's it. This is how the media is set up.
Grief
The
porn. Remember? I think Karen called it grief porn.
That's right. That's right. Um, it, it's murder porn. Murder is entertainment now. You know what I mean? Forensic files,
But
murder
you know what?
podcasts.
I've been thinking about that. We've had a serial
Hmm.
killer fascination even in cinema and for a really long time. I mean, it's turning into a more sensational kind of. The murder is becoming more sensational and less creative. But we've had it
Hmm.
in. We've really, I mean, Silence of the Lambs. You can go
Hmm.
back to even in the 70s and 80s. There was a lot of slasher shit. Ted Bundy was a big fucking thing. Um,
Well,
you know,
it's gotten even more intense, because now you have entire channels. The ID channel, like, you have entire cable channels devoted to murders, and you just watch them back to back to back, and you hear the opening. This dentist was drilling more than teeth in Florida. And I'm like going, yeah, yeah, what did he do? What did he do? And I have my grapes. I'm like,
are you getting
mm.
sucked into that? Because you have been one of the biggest critics of that.
No, I'm not. But believe me, if I put that shit on, I want to watch it. So I don't put it on.
Okay, okay. Well, I think for me, first of all, the Giants and the Bears play this weekend. We can have a little, yeah. Your team is pretty bad. I mean, we have a chance.
No, no, we're not. We're better.
You are?
We're better. Oh yeah.
You got
You'll
pistol whipped
see.
by you got
Steelers are good, dude.
Well, I guess we'll find out this weekend. It'll be interesting. That'll be something for us to be entertained by. I'm sure we'll be
The Bears, the Bears had a great comeback, right?
they had a great comeback, but they're really not good. Yeah, they had a great comeback, but they played badly for
I
three.
thought their defense. I thought their defense was really good.
No, their defense actually played very badly. Their defense is supposed to be good, but they didn't play well.
Mm.
But anyway, it's another. We don't want to turn away the 26 people,
I
26 old ladies.
guarantee. Well, I just want to say this to Steve, and then we'll go back to the old ladies. I guarantee that the Giants will beat the Bears this weekend.
Okay, well, when that doesn't happen, this moment will be on the highlight reel, everybody. Okay? The Cubs pitched a fucking no-hitter. Did you see that?
Mm-mm.
The guy was their fifth rotation starter who came up from AAA, and he pitched a no-hitter against Yelich and the Brewers, man.
Oh man, I love when a rookie comes on the scene, because it's sort of like a child being born, like it's a new person, and you're like, oh shit, this guy, who's this guy? There's hope in the world. We got this guy. You know what I mean?
Man, you go fucking overboard on that shit. I always see the new guy and I go, fuck, what the fuck? Where's our regular guy? This guy's terrible.
Yeah, but
Who's
not when the new guy throws a no hitter.
Oh, that was incredible. That was incredible. And by the
What's
way,
his name?
his name's Alec Mills, and the Cubs got hot after that. Now we've won 5 in a row since that happened. We swept the Cleveland Indians, who are not bad. So you
Right.
never know in the National League. Remember, none of these teams have won a World Series. The Cubs are the only one team that have that. They have that been there, So who knows?
So this is, by the way, just to get it back to what we're talking about, this is how we escape.
Yeah.
We give this importance to sports, and why, I think it's, you know, all escape isn't bad. It's when you're completely ignoring your fucking the fucking reality around you, you know, and kind of uh, going into a rabbit hole. You know, like I have a friend who's so into the fucking Yankees. Like he texts me, you know, all the time, like Stanton just hit another, you know what I mean? And when they lose, the guy is truly despondent,
Right,
which I
because
used to be as a kid. But now I'm like, you know, I get it
well,
now.
you may have found other things to you know, give your soul pleasure. Than
Frozen grapes.
I have friend. Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? That's gonna be the title of this fucking episode. Uh, uh, you know, Larry David's was sour grapes. The Eddie Pepitone is frozen grapes. So,
Absolutely.
Woody Allen. One of the things I escape with is I listen to interviews on YouTube. I've gotten really into like the other night I listened to the Kennedy Nixon debate from 1960 just before I went to bed. It was a good night's sleep too. Put me right to sleep. Um, but I listened to a Woody Allen interview with him. Alec Baldwin was interviewing him. Fucking Alec Baldwin, credit card shilling cunt. But anyway, he was interviewing Woody Allen, and Woody Allen really wanted the people listening to know he's not a bookworm, that he grew up playing baseball and football, and that he was a good athlete. And it made me laugh because it made me think of us, because here we are comedians, and we're really kind of knock around guys. You know, you're sort of a knock
Oh
around
yeah.
guy who likes sports and is a
Yeah.
straight average guy who's maybe a little brighter than the people they grew up around, and found some creative. But look at Woody Allen. He wants everybody to know it. Woody Allen's thought of as this intellectual, and he wants people to know that he went to great lengths. He was very passionately like lobbying people to know that he loves sports, and he never read a book until maybe he was 32, 33 years old.
Well, I knew that Woody Allen. What am I hearing in your background?
No, I don't know.
Maybe it's just part of this thing. But anyway, I knew that Woody Allen was into sports because I would see it in his movies. He particularly has a love for basketball. He's a big Knick fan, and I, you know, when I was following the Knicks when they were good, which was
The 60s. The 60s.
unbelievable. But it's so sad. It's so sad. By
It
the
gives
way,
me, as a Chicagoan, it gives me so much happiness that you
well,
have to.
I know, you son of a bitch, because I got to tell you, I watched The Last Dance. I watched every episode.
Oh
It was
wow!
great.
It
I
was.
never knew what a psychotic Michael Jordan was about winning. Like I just saw him. Well, I knew it, but I really know it. Like that guy is just, you know,
That was
well,
his addiction, Eddie. That was his addiction.
absolutely. What I didn't like is I think essentially, I really like that documentary. I think essentially, though, it was a little bit of a Valentine to Jordan
Well,
because
he oversaw it. I mean, it had his stamp of
well,
approval.
because it seemed to me there were intimations that he was a bully and he was an asshole to people, like under the guise of, you know, win at all costs. And I admire that because I'm a big I mean, I admire winning, you know, and being like, let's beat these teams and let's be
Right, but
great.
when you hear about Reggie Jackson, he was an asshole. Nobody liked Reggie Jackson, but he won. He was the
Mm,
best. I mean, he won a couple World Series for you guys. I think a few for the A's as well.
right.
So it's not unheard of for these guys to be, you know, I wasn't surprised. I think they made it look in Jordan's career, it made it look like he was just this effortless winner, this perfection. And
No,
obviously
he worked hard.
he worked hard, and look what he got out of the people around him, Eddie. I mean, he got, you know, LeBron James has to go merge an acquisition with these other superstars to get titles. You know what I mean? Like this guy, he got it out of fucking Steve Kerr. He got it out of fucking Bill Weddington. I mean, he, you know, Luke Longley.
Mm.
So I'm
Yeah, I hate the Bulls so much. And I love that they have not been in the spotlight for many years now. That makes me happy.
Neither have the Knicks, though. The Knicks have
Yeah,
also been.
tell me about it. Well, because Jordan really broke my heart because, Ewing
Yeah.
never got a championship because of Jordan.
Well, Ewing also played against Houston and could have won.
Yeah, I know.
So
We
Jordan was out of the
never
league.
got over that hump, but
And
Jordan. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Jordan is the greatest
ever
fucking player of all time. I think in any sport. But
well, we're happy to have had him in Chicago because we don't quite have the great city sports history that New York has. Like the Yankees just win and win and win. The fucking Giants, even with Eli Manning, who was what the fuck? You won Super Bowls with that guy,
He beat Brady. He's 2-0 against Brady, and
I will always love him for that. I will always love him for that. And by the way, look at Tom Brady down in Tampa Bay. At least.
See.
Oh my God, Tampa Bay. I lived there. That's where my folks are. I can tell you about Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay. The identity of that city is that of absorbing winners from other places. The city itself has no identity. The people who live there have no identity except to anybody who comes with a reputation of winning or money. They want to absorb their, so they don't have an identity of their own. Like they have a team, the Tampa Bay Rays, who have been winning with fucking masking tape and fucking summer's flu for decades. They have nobody, and the city, nobody goes to see them. Nobody goes to see them. Instead of going, this is our identity, this is who we are, like a Cub fan would go to fucking Wrigley Field, even though their team didn't win for 100 years, and they would have an identity. This city has no fucking identity. It's just
what's interesting about what you're saying, though, is that you are saying that a city's identity is based on a sports team. And one of the things that I kind of laughed at a little bit about the Bulls championships was how into it all the Chicagoans were. Like they were just like to me, and this is my criticism of myself with sports, it's like no, that's a very small part of life. Okay, it's like, yeah, Jordan, once in a lifetime athlete. And yes, it gives people joy. But when I was watching it, to see just all of these people, in Grant Park celebrating these championships, I was thinking, God, it would be nice if people could get together like that to celebrate, each other and better education. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like sports, it has too much.
Well, look at your friends. Look at your friends who their day is wrecked when the Yankees lose. I mean, it kind of goes for any place.
To me, that's childlike, though. To me, because when I was a kid, I used to get like that. I would be disconsolate when my team lost. I would be, you couldn't say anything to me that made me feel better. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's kind of ridiculous. It's sport. It's a game.
Right, but what about in LA? In LA, nobody gives a shit about sports. I mean, people, it's like
there's some diehard what I learned about here is there's diehard Dodger fans, big time. That's a long time franchise. There's diehard
Laker fans.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but it's not like being in Chicago or New York when you're around sports and your team. The people are much crazier for their.
Well, I think that's partly geography. California and LA is so sprawling. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the cities, it's people on top of each other. You know what I mean? Especially New York.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I just think there are people who are very not into sports out here. I think there are people, it's not as.
That's not a bad thing, by the way.
No, it's not a bad thing. It's kind of cool because when I go back and see my family, the only way we bond is by talking about the men. The men bond by talking about sports.
Right.
and they're like, hey, what's it like out there? Are they crazy about didn't you hear about the dot? I'm like, no, nobody gives a, people aren't like
Right.
consumed like that out here.
Right. Right. Now we're consumed out here by fires.
Well, yeah.
Mm.
Hopefully that'll get in under control. I don't know what to say, but
But the criticism I have of myself of being such a sports fan is that it's a distraction, and the corporate state loves, the corporate state loves when the working class idiots are like rooting for their team desperately, and they're getting advertisements as they watch the games. They're fed the corporate shit. The military is flying planes overhead the stadiums. They're all patriotic. They all now have the seventh inning flag waving stuff.
I know.
Sports is a big organ of the corporate state. So,
but then there's also the human poetry of it, where you're watching.
Yeah.
The only thing, somebody said, the only true thing is in the sports section. The only true news
Yes,
is in the sports
I heard
section.
that. I know that song. It's a jazz song.
We're watching it, and it's the only thing where we're watching a human being overcome some physical obstacle. And
Right.
we have our team or whatever, but there's something honest about it that we can't get out of any other aspect of life, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's a jazz song that says the only place you get the score is in the sports section. The real score is in the sports section. But I know what you mean. It would be funny. It would be funny if we had like a national teachers league and they just televised teachers in the classroom, and it was like sportscasters in the back going, okay, she's about to reference the Boer War here, and let's see how well she knows the Boer War. And that would be amazing if people got into certain teachers like they do sporting events.
Yeah, that would actually be great. I mean, it would be funny to hear the commentators go, she left out the whole part of when she was talking about the Iwo Jima. She left out this whole section of, I feel for these kids.
When sports was not going on, this has been a weird, like as a sports fan, this has been a very strange year, and I didn't miss them at all. I was like, fuck it. There's much more important things in life. And now that I'm slowly getting sucked back into playoff hockey and the Yankees, and and I remember hearing someone say, you know what? We of course, our government, and this country has not handled the pandemic at all. And the idiots who don't wear masks, in the name of their fucking freedom and anti-scientism. And we have completely fucked up the pandemic. We don't deserve sports. Sports is a reward for a society that functions well. And we don't deserve it. Sports is like dessert. And we don't deserve dessert right now because we didn't handle this pandemic well.
Well, I'll tell you who's getting their just dessert are the people who love sports, who are getting forced to watch the athletes protest the white supremacy in law enforcement. So when the celebrity athletes decide to protest white supremacy in law enforcement and brutality and cruelty, general cruelty, then I do like that, and I appreciate that.
Yes.
And and the people, the ones I'm laughing at, are the ones who are talking about boycotting it. I actually, it's too big of a part of our soul consciousness and our dreams living and dying for people's unreliable politics to take down professional sports. I don't think it ever will.
Yeah, right. But what you're talking about, like the athletes protesting, the athletes getting involved in what's actually happening in the society they live in, is a good thing. Even though, it seemed to be the NBA not playing for one day.
It was an empty gesture.
What did that do? I mean, if you're
they
really
didn't play for 6 months because of the coronavirus.
Right. No, but if you're really going to make a stand against, you know, police brutality and, you know, societal inequities, don't you fucking not play until, you know, these things are really addressed, which they haven't been, and they
Well,
never will be under this system. So, you know, at least they're going in that direction of kind of unifying. I don't know if you saw the opening game in football, the
yeah.
Chiefs,
Yeah.
and fans were booing just some, it was just some bullshit NFL empty gesture toward equality, and the fans booed that, and you know, that's sad.
Yeah, it is sad. Where were they? In Kansas City or in Texas? Where were they? In
Kansas City.
Kansas City? Very
Hmm.
conservative place. Very,
Yeah,
very conservative city.
I guess so. You know, it just shows you how
Good though.
divided.
I don't think it's an empty gesture. When it upsets
Yeah, I guess
the
so.
people it's supposed to upset, it's
Yeah.
not it's not empty, you know.
Well, they don't want, here's what it is again, like it's an escape. You know, the games are an escape, and they don't want their escape tarnished with
Well, they
politics.
want their dessert chocolate with marshmallows. They don't want raisins in it or
That's right.
welcome. Here's your dessert. This is what you fucking get.
Hmm,
And
hmm.
don't
They don't want
fucking bitch
spinach.
about it. Yeah,
They
you're
don't
lucky
want
to have a
spinach.
fucking dessert. Well, this is what
Right.
you're just saying. You're lucky to have a dessert at all. You don't deserve dessert.
Right. Right. So I don't think, you know, I agree with whoever. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. I
That's
agree
where we
with,
get on the no idea zone. Just moments like that.
I agree that with whoever said that, as you know, sports are a reward for doing things properly, and we're not doing things properly, so sports is teetering. It's amazing to me though that we've had the level of play, like I've watched, you know, hockey, and the level of play is great.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't follow hockey like that, so I don't know. But
It's they're now going to start the finals, but I was watching the last few games and I was like, whoa, this is really great. And the players committed to this bubble. They're playing in Canada, you know, where the COVID is under control because they have, you know,
they have sensible leaders.
and people who apparently get it.
Yeah. That's the most fascinating thing is these countries where that didn't have the catastrophic effects that we did.
New Zealand. Yeah. By the way, Stevie, I have to go in a minute or two.
Okay,
My
well,
dog is,
I think we're good, man. I
that
think we
was a
did
good
good.
quick talk.
Yeah, can you just, everybody knows you, but let's just tell everybody where they can find you and what you've got coming up, because I
Well,
know you
they
worked on
can,
some interesting stuff.
yeah, they can just go to eddiepepitone.com, and you know, they can connect to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. What's the other one? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I don't know. And I am, well, what else am I doing? I don't know, doing a
Yeah,
bunch of stuff, but
you just
I
filmed
do the
some,
bunker. I do
yeah,
the bunker Tuesday and Thursdays on
Instagram,
Instagram Live.
Yep.
Yeah, but they could go to eddiepepitone.com and connect to whatever I have going on. You know.
Okay. You don't want to tell everybody about Helen Mirren and Marissa Tomei?
Well, yeah, I'm going to be on a Netflix. Yeah, I worked with those guys on a Netflix show that's going to come out in a couple of weeks. And it's supposedly to try to get out the vote, which is funny. It's
That's so
funny.
funny because you
Yeah.
don't think it means shit.
Right, right. But I worked with Helen Mirren, so that was good.
Yeah,
The
you
money
took a great,
sucked.
you
The
took a
money
great,
sucked.
but you got a great picture with Helen Mirren.
That's all I wanted.
Well, thanks, man, for coming
Yeah.
on. And No Idea Zone people who watch this thing, you know, make sure you subscribe because building a YouTube audience is like going on a fucking Lime scooter across country. So we really need you to subscribe.
I know.
And I'm so glad that you came on. I miss you, buddy. And
Yeah,
we
I
got
miss
some
you too.
exciting things coming up that you
Yeah, I hope so.
and find out about. And it's just an honor to have you. I love you, buddy. Thanks for
Love you
joining
too,
me.
man. That was great. All right.
Enjoy your day.
Thanks, you too.